So we've all had some thoughts on the show so far. You may have been seeing my reviews for each episode, and if you haven't, go check them out. I'll link them there and card them and all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to know you guys' thoughts specifically. So I did a post on my community page and some of you have responded. And I'm going to go through and give my thoughts on your commentary as well. And yeah, that's what we're doing today. And for those who may be watching who may not have given your thoughts, be sure to let me know your thoughts so far on the show in the comment section. I'll be doing a video like this for the end of the season as well. So if you didn't get your thoughts in, don't worry, you will be able to eventually. So let's dive into your thoughts so far on Percy Jackson and the Olympians. First up from the Mythos Archive 7520. I like it a lot. They've changed and added a fair bit more than I expected, but I've also liked most of the changes so far. Rick seems to be taking the opportunity to use the show as a rewrite and is introducing the conflict centred around the flaws of the gods and the people getting hurt by said conflict now. And I very much agree with this. There are things that I don't think have worked as much in terms of changes, just because I feel like I didn't fully understand the changes. The ones that make sense are things like changing the spiders that they have in the Tunnel of Love to the chair instead. More mythological related, but also doing lots of mechanical spiders. Very hard CGI wise, so I understand changes like that. Other things I'm not fully understanding, like the way in which the situation in the first episode happens. I feel like they moved on a little bit too quickly from the Mrs. Dodds thing. Like we didn't really get to sit in the moment of like them gaslighting Percy. And I don't know, it just like we've not even had that much explanation of the mist and things like that. So there's not been as much explanation as I feel, which is then interesting because there's a lot of exposition that happens, which admittedly there was a lot of exposition that does happen in the books, but I feel like that's something they could have changed to a degree in a more visual medium that I'm not sure has happened. But overall though, I do agree that also Rick is using this as an opportunity to rewrite and fix, because there are lots of problematic elements in the books originally, such as, like I mentioned in my reviews, the Islamophobia elements with Medusa, the fat phobia with basically all of the monsters. Well, not all, because Medusa wasn't, but like a lot of the monsters and lots of not nice people are portrayed as fat, and that's a problem. I mean, that's a thing that happens a lot in kids media in general, but yeah, that is a thing. So I'm kind of glad they've changed those elements as well. So yeah, I can see Rick using this as the opportunity to rewrite and fix some elements of his books, which I appreciate because I would probably do the same. Next up, Literate Artist 9304, and I'm going to apologise now if I say any of these usernames wrong. I mostly have enjoyed it myself, though there are parts I think could be improved. The trio and other supporting actors are cast wonderfully, and I love seeing them interact on screen. I like how they portrayed Annabeth strategizing, quick thinking, and her ambition, though I wish they also highlighted her other aspects, with it being her first quest, and she's also figuring things out. I do kind of agree with that. Casting has been really good. I've liked the interactions between the cast. I think they are doing super well with what they've been given. I do think in the first couple of episodes it was a little bit stunted. Not stunted, a little bit stiff, because you're trying to get used to like portraying these characters. It can be a little bit awkward to begin with, and we saw that with like a lot, like with Walker and Leah initially, but like when they're first introduced and when they're first acting in the show. Annabeth isn't getting as many moments to be Annabeth as I feel she is. Like she's not having a lot of opportunities to be the quote-unquote teacher of the group, because Percy knows all about mythology now, and oftentimes he's the one telling her the stories. So we're not even seeing her intelligence and like her knowing things. We're also kind of, I feel like, not seeing enough of her strategizing. So I half disagree with this, of like liking how they portrayed Annabeth strategizing, quick thinking, and ambition. I do think they showed the ambition really well. I don't think they've showed the strategizing very well, because we don't really know about the plan that she had with having Percy be the draw out for Clarice. We've not really seen we've not really seen much of it. And I think that's something that really needs to be fixed in season 2, especially because season 2, and book 2 and book 4 are the ones that have like a lot of Annabeth-centric moments. Well, book 3 as well, but she's not in it as much. So I think that's an area that needs to be improved for future seasons. But I do think the actors are doing well. And then we have friend of the channel, Unclaimed Demigod. The pacing feels a bit weird and the action always seems to be over moments after it starts. I'm enjoying every second our trio is on screen. And while the story is being told a bit differently to how it was told in the books, I think most characters have stayed true to their book counterparts. Definitely agree with the second part of the story is being told differently, but it's still sticking to the beats of the book. The show is hitting more of the story beats. They're doing things slightly differently, but the story beats are all there. Percy discovers that he is a demigod. He ends up at camp. There's a quest that happens because the lightning bolt has been stolen. He goes on the quest. There's Medusa, there's Echidna, there's Ares, there's going to get his shield and being trapped by Hephaestus to a degree. There's the travelling to Vegas, there's being stuck in the Lotus Casino, and the beats are all hitting what happens in the book. So I'm not having issues with that. I do think some of the things aren't being fully executed well, and this is where Unclaimed Demigod has the correct things here of the pacing does feel a bit weird. And I think it's the problem of an 8-episode season with averaging about 30 minutes per episode. It's just, there are moments where there is a rush. And I know in the books, and there has been some criticisms that I've seen of people saying, oh, the people who are saying that the pacing is weird haven't read the book because the book has weird pacing. The book does have weird pacing. They could have fixed that in the show, though. I think that's the whole thing. People are just like, oh, but these were problems that were in the books. I'm like, but if Rick is using the show as a way to like fix elements in the books, this would have been an opportunity to fix the pacing elements in the book, as well as the over-exposition in the books. Books do a lot of exposition because, you have to explain things. And the show has as well. But the problem I have with the pacing and the exposition problems in the show is that, unlike with the books, they're not being utilised in the right way. Like, TV show is a very visual medium. You can use exposition and pacing, exposition especially, you can have a way for a visual medium to show these things. Like in episode 2 when we have Luke talk, and again this will be a budget situation admittedly, when we have Luke talking about the past of young Annabeth, him and Talia, that could have been a good moment for a visual thing because it's two people sat talking, which can be boring sometimes to just watch on screen where it's just going between the two with a camera. There's a way to make it visually appealing, and I think that's the thing of just like, I'm not too sure that they've hit the most visually appealing ways of distributing information, which was again a problem in the books. Obviously not a visual way of just like someone's just talking at you, but in a TV medium, obviously budget depending, there is a way to make that more interesting. And pacing wise, I think it's the length of episodes to a degree, but mostly the length of the season, because I think they've just not had time. But then also with how it looks like for coming up episodes, they're also including things that don't need to be there. Why do we have Krusties? Why is Krusties there? But yeah, you get my meaning. Then from Hasty Pastry 6353, I think episode 1 and 2 are the weakest, likely from Rick directly co-writing the script. That I do agree with. I think episode 1 and 2 were the weakest in terms of dialogue specifically. And I think episode 4 as well, which I think Rick may have also written for. But I don't think it's terrible, but I think there's an influence to a degree of like someone who's not as well versed in script writing. I think the dialogue and cinematography could use some work. I also agree with that. Yeah, this is the whole thing. I feel like some of the scripts needed like a few goes over, like some more revisions, and I think that's the case of like needing a bigger writer's room as well, which is a problem in Hollywood in general right now. I mean, that's why we had some of the writer's strike as well, of there are not enough supportive rooms. Like, writing rooms used to be, not all of them, they didn't always used to be, not for all projects used to be huge, but there definitely used to be more than, like, I think there's like 6 for this season. Like, Daphne Olive is a staff writer, so she's not written for any of the episodes, but she would have been involved with, like, helping to revise the scripts, I believe. I may be incorrect about that, but I think more people would help, because, like, there needs to be a sort of, like, back and forth. You need to, like, it's like with books to a degree as well. You get beta readers to come in and help improve it. It's kind of what having more people in a writer's room is to have more eyes on a piece of work who can give advice on how to improve it. I just don't know if they had enough of that. And then from August 1837, on an enjoyment level, it's great, but there are quite a bit of issues quality-wise, and I think my opinion on the show will entirely depend on the last 3 episodes. I think the show's writing is the weakest point so far, which is unfortunate. There's some really strong individual moments, but as a whole, it feels like there's something missing. The dialogue doesn't feel natural in some places, the pacing is getting better, but there are issues throughout. It doesn't feel like we are sufficiently set up for a satisfying climax. And I do agree with that. This is the thing, and I've mentioned this a few times, I think, in my reviews, but also elsewhere, that I feel like the show is almost specifically made for binging. Because my friends who got, like, early viewing for all the episodes have also mentioned, not all of them have mentioned this, but some of them have mentioned that watching it, like, them all together helps kind of get an idea of the story. And I found this even when I've been rewatching the episodes. When I'm watching them all in succession, it flows so much better and I'm enjoying them a lot more. But that's not good for something that's then weekly releasing, because you've got to keep people being engaged, and if the episode itself doesn't stand well on its own, that is also a problem. And so I think that's where the pacing comes in, because it's feeling a bit, not stagnant, but they're not feeling like episodes that stand on their own. And it just feels like a very more binge-worthy show that we can't currently binge. So I'm thinking that, like, when I binge watch the whole thing together, I'll feel a bit more positive about it, but we'll see. Then from, and I apologise if I say this wrong, Guapacali. There's moments here where they say, I don't like how little we got of Annabeth's moments in the show. She was Percy's camp tour guide and guide to the mythological world in the books. It's good that Percy knows a little bit more, and I agree, I think it makes sense, because it's weird that his mum never told him anything. But we don't have Annabeth playing that much of an active role in showcasing her intellect and prowess in the quest. She has some moments, which is great, and I hope we can see more of that rather than the people around her telling the audience how awesome she is. Yeah. Leah, by the way, is slaying the acting. Yes, Leah is doing really well with her acting. I think she's just not being given too many opportunities to shine, which I think really sucks, because, and this was a problem within the books that I really hoped that they'd fix in the show. The books do a lot of telling and not showing, but what they do show really well is Annabeth's skills, but they've not showcased that in the show. They're just telling us how good Annabeth is and having a few small moments here and there of her doing stuff, but it is mostly her just kind of reacting, or even her being the audience standing of kind of getting mythological information, which she should have. And there are some odd choices with Annabeth's characterization. And there's actually another commenter from Hyper Pivot Ciares. Again, apologies if I say that wrong. The changes are interesting, but I hate that they changed the St. Louis Arch segment. Annabeth wanting to go to the Arch, not for protection, not for the quest, but for herself, is such a beautiful character-building moment. It shows her love of architecture. And Percy seeing how much it means to her and risking the quest for it is the perfect show of why she fell in love with him. She would be too pragmatic to even suggest making a detour, but Percy is giving her permission to do something fine. And yeah, I don't mind the element, because it then led into the Athena and Annabeth conflict that mirrors the Medusa thing, but I do kind of miss the goofy element of it, of kind of like, they're kids, they're doing something that they want to do, because that's what they're 12, they're doing things that maybe aren't the smartest things in the world, but they want to do it because it's something they enjoy. A lot of the other comments also mention pacing being too fast and just general pacing issues, but people are still optimistic that the changes that have been made, some they don't fully agree with, but others they have enjoyed and make sense. I do agree with. There are issues still with pacing. And again, I'm hoping that if I can binge watch the whole thing, maybe the pacing issues won't feel as big. But so far, I am feeling, in terms of the show, I may actually go 3.5 out of 5 stars so far, which seems to be a little bit of consensus, at least from my followers and subscribers. Anyone who may be watching this who may not have given your thoughts before, let me know. But yeah, I'm hoping that binge watching it by the end and kind of seeing it all come together may help a little bit, but also the issues that they do have in this, that they can fix them in season 3. Bring in more writers. Disney, gives them more budget. You're $1 billion, nearly $1 trillion company, I think, at this point. You can give a budget. Come on. And no, I can see the potential for this. I just do think there are some issues. Some that were issues that were in the books, like some pacing elements, exposition, telling, not showing. I just hope they'd fix it. If, considering Rick was like, I want to fix some things there, and we're seeing that he has fixed some of those things, that I'd hoped they would have fixed those elements too. But yeah, thank you all for giving me your thoughts so far on Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I will be doing a post as well for your thoughts of the season as a whole, as well as what you would like to see for season 2. So keep an eye out for that. Be sure to subscribe, share this with your friends, comment your own thoughts again for anyone who maybe didn't have their stuff read out or didn't get the chance to comment about your thoughts so far on season 1. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out my books, and I will see you all next time.